The concert was sold out. 80,000 people packed into Wembley Stadium in London on a warm July night in 2012. Madonna was an hour into her MDMA world tour. The energy was electric, and she was about to perform like a virgin when she saw something in the crowd that made her stop the entire show. What happened in the next 12 minutes would save a woman's life, create the most talked-about concert moment of the decade, and fundamentally change how venues worldwide handle domestic violence situations. Madonna was wearing a gold corset and thigh-high boots, standing center stage with 80,000 people singing along to the opening notes of one of her biggest hits. The lights were sweeping across the crowd, and the cameras were capturing the audience's energy for the giant screens flanking the stage. That's when she saw her, a woman in the general admission section, about 40 rows back from the stage. She was trying to stay in place, but a man next to her had grabbed her arm and was pulling her toward the exit. The woman was resisting, trying to pull away, and 2 security guards were approaching them. Madonna had seen this scenario 1,000 times at her concerts. Drunk people being escorted out, unruly fans being removed, medical emergencies being handled. This should have been routine. Security was doing their job. She should have kept singing. But something was wrong. The woman wasn't drunk. She wasn't being aggressive or causing a disturbance. She was trying to stay, and the man pulling her was the problem. Madonna could see it in the woman's body language, the way she was making herself small, the way she was trying to pull away without making a scene, the way her head was down even as she was being dragged. Madonna had spent enough time working with domestic violence organizations to recognize what she was seeing. This wasn't security removing a troublemaker. This was a man forcing a woman to leave against her will, and security was about to help him do it. Madonna stopped singing mid-verse. The band, confused, kept playing for a few bars before realizing something was wrong and gradually stopping. The crowd's singing faltered and died out as people realized Madonna had stopped the show. 80,000 people went silent, wondering what was happening. Madonna walked to the edge of the stage, pointing toward the section where the incident was occurring. "Stop," she said into her microphone, her voice cutting clearly through the stadium speakers. "Security, stop. Don't remove that woman." The security guards froze. The cameras, following Madonna's gesture, swung toward the crowd section she was pointing at. Suddenly, the woman, the man, and the 2 security guards were visible on the giant screens flanking the stage. 80,000 people could now see exactly what Madonna was seeing. The man had his hand clamped around the woman's upper arm. His grip was tight enough that even from the stage, even on the screens, you could see his knuckles were white. The woman looked terrified, not of being at the concert, not of the crowd, but of him. "You," Madonna said, pointing directly at the man now visible on the screens. "Let go of her arm, right now." The man's face appeared on the giant screens, and 80,000 people saw his expression change from aggressive to shocked. He hadn't expected to be called out. He hadn't expected Madonna to see him. He hadn't expected to be displayed on screens 40 feet tall in front of a stadium full of witnesses. He let go of the woman's arm. "Security," Madonna said, her voice firm and clear. "I don't want him removed. I want her protected. Separate them. Keep him away from her. And I want to talk to her." The security guards, now understanding the situation, immediately moved between the man and the woman. Additional security appeared, and within seconds, the man was being held back while the woman was being escorted, gently, carefully, toward the front of the crowd. The stadium was completely silent except for Madonna's voice. "I'm going to tell you all something," Madonna said, addressing the entire stadium now. "I've worked with domestic violence organizations for 20 years. I know what it looks like when a woman is trying to get away from someone who's hurting her. I saw it happening right here, right now, in front of all of us. She paused, letting that sink in. That woman was trying to stay at this concert. He was trying to force her to leave, and our security was about to help him do it because they didn't know what was actually happening. Now they do. Now we all do. The woman had reached the security barrier at the front of the stage. She was crying, but not the crying of someone who was drunk or upset about being removed from a concert. She was crying the way people cry when they've been holding something in for too long and it's finally breaking through. Madonna knelt down at the edge of the stage. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice gentle now, just for the woman. "Sarah," the woman said, her voice barely audible, but picked up by Madonna's microphone. "Sarah, are you safe?" Madonna asked. Sarah shook her head. "Is he your partner?" Madonna asked. Sarah nodded, fresh tears streaming down her face. "Does he hurt you?" Sarah hesitated, then nodded again. The stadium was so quiet you could hear people breathing. 80,000 witnesses to a moment of truth that was usually hidden behind closed doors. "Okay," Madonna said, her voice strong and sure. "Sarah, you're safe now. I promise you. You're surrounded by 80,000 people who are not going to let anything happen to you. Security, I want her backstage. I want police called. I want domestic violence advocates from the local women's shelter here immediately. And I want that man removed from this venue and held until police arrive." The security team moved into action. Sarah was lifted over the barrier and escorted backstage by 2 female security guards. The man who'd been gripping her arm was surrounded by 6 security guards and escorted out a different exit. And Madonna stood on that stage in front of 80,000 people and said something that would be quoted for years to come. Domestic violence happens everywhere. It happens to rich women and poor women. It happens to famous women and unknown women. It happens in homes and at concerts and in public places where we all think someone would notice and help. But here's the thing, we have to actually notice. We have to actually help. Sarah came to my concert tonight hoping to have a few hours of escape from someone who hurts her. He followed her here. He tried to force her to leave. And because all of you are witnesses now, because this is being recorded, because 80,000 people just saw what happened, she gets to escape. For real this time. Madonna stood up. This concert is dedicated to Sarah and to every person who's ever felt trapped by someone who says they love them. And to everyone here tonight, if you see something, say something. Don't assume security knows what's happening. Don't assume someone else will help. Be the person who speaks up. Then she did something extraordinary. She invited a representative from the local domestic violence shelter to come on stage while Sarah was being helped backstage. The representative, a woman named Claire Thompson, who'd been in the VIP section, came up and spoke for 3 minutes about the signs of domestic violence, the resources available, and how people could help. 80,000 people at a pop concert got a crash course in recognizing and responding to domestic violence. And they listened in absolute silence. When Claire finished speaking, Madonna said, "Now we're going to continue this concert, but I want you all to know that backstage right now, Sarah is with police, with advocates, and with my team. She's being helped, she's being protected, and by the end of tonight, she'll have a plan for leaving him safely. She'll have resources, and she'll have support. Because that's what we do when we see someone who needs help. We actually help them." The crowd erupted. Not the usual concert cheering. This was something different. This was 80,000 people applauding the fact that one woman was being saved from violence. It was one of the most moving moments in concert history. Madonna went back to performing. She sang like a virgin with an intensity that felt different now. Every lyric about love and vulnerability and innocence hit differently after what had just happened. Backstage, Sarah was surrounded by help. Police had arrived and taken her statement. Her partner had been arrested for assault after security footage showed him striking her earlier that evening in the concourse. Domestic violence advocates from the local shelter had arrived with an emergency plan. Madonna's own security team was coordinating safe transportation to a shelter, and Madonna's tour manager had been instructed to make sure Sarah had everything she needed. When Madonna came off stage 3 hours later, after finishing the entire concert, she went directly to where Sarah was waiting. Sarah was calmer now, sitting with advocates, paperwork spread out in front of her, applications for emergency housing, restraining order documents, resource lists. "How are you doing?" Madonna asked, sitting down next to her. "I don't know," Sarah said honestly. "I'm terrified, but I'm also relieved. I've been trying to leave him for 2 years. Every time I tried, he'd find me. He tracked my phone. He followed me. Tonight was supposed to be the one place he wouldn't come because he hates your music, but he followed me anyway." "What happened when he found you?" Madonna asked. "He grabbed my arm and said we were leaving. He said if I made a scene, he'd make me pay for it later. So I was trying to leave quietly because I was scared of what would happen if I fought back. I thought if I just went with him, maybe it wouldn't be as bad as if I resisted in public." Madonna took Sarah's hand. "You were trying to protect yourself. That's survival. But now you're here, he's in custody, and you have people around you who know how to help you leave safely." Sarah started crying again. "You saw me. Out of 80,000 people, you saw me." "I saw you," Madonna confirmed, "and now everyone saw, which means he can't make this disappear. Too many witnesses, too much documentation. You're not alone in this anymore." What happened over the next 6 months became a case study in how to help domestic violence survivors. Madonna's team paid for Sarah's legal fees, the restraining order, the divorce proceedings, everything. They paid for 6 months of emergency housing. They connected Sarah with trauma counseling. They helped her get a new phone, a new email, and security measures to keep her location hidden. And Madonna herself stayed in touch, checking in regularly through her assistant to make sure Sarah had what she needed. Sarah's partner was charged with assault, battery, and violations of the stalking laws. The video footage from the concert, Madonna calling him out, the cameras showing him gripping Sarah's arm, his face on the giant screens, became evidence in the trial. He was convicted and sentenced to 2 years in prison, with a 5-year restraining order after his release. But the impact went far beyond one woman being saved. The video of Madonna stopping the concert went viral. Within 24 hours, it had been viewed 50 million times. News outlets around the world covered the story. Domestic violence organizations saw a 300% spike in calls to their hotlines in the week after the incident. Women who'd been too scared to leave violent partners saw Sarah's story and realized they could get help. More importantly, the concert industry changed its protocols. Major venues worldwide implemented new training for security staff on recognizing domestic violence situations. The protocol became known informally as the Madonna moment. Security guards were trained to look for signs that someone was being removed against their will, to distinguish between drunk fans being escorted out and people being controlled or coerced by partners. Madonna herself used the incident to launch a partnership with the National Domestic Violence Hotline. At every subsequent concert on that tour and all future tours, information about domestic violence resources was printed on the tickets, displayed on screens before the show, and announced from the stage. Millions of people who came to Madonna concerts saw those messages. 2 years after that night at Wembley, Sarah spoke publicly for the first time about what had happened. She was thriving, living in a safe apartment, working as an advocate for other domestic violence survivors, and using her experience to help others recognize and escape abusive relationships. "Madonna didn't just save my life that night," Sarah said in an interview with the BBC. "She showed 80,000 people what domestic violence looks like in real time." Most people think it's all bruises and black eyes and screaming fights. They don't realize it's also a hand clamped too tightly on your arm. It's being forced to leave a place you want to be. It's being controlled in public, while everyone around you assumes everything is fine. Madonna saw it when everyone else didn't, and she did something about it. The interviewer asked Sarah what she remembered most clearly from that night. Madonna's voice, Sarah said. When she said let go of her arm, right now. I'd spent 2 years being told by him that no one would help me, that no one cared, that I was on my own. And then the most famous woman in the world stopped her concert for me. That's when I knew I was going to get out. That's when I knew someone saw me. Madonna rarely talks about the incident in detail, but in a 2015 interview with Vanity Fair, she was asked about it. I grew up around domestic violence, Madonna said. I watched my father hurt my mother. I watched her try to protect us kids while being terrified herself. I know what it looks like. I know the body language. I know the fear. When I saw Sarah that night, I saw my mother. I saw every woman who's ever been trapped by someone who claims to love them but is actually destroying them. And I had 80,000 people and a microphone and the power to stop what was happening. So I did. The interviewer asked if Madonna was concerned about embarrassing Sarah by making it so public. I thought about that for about 3 seconds, Madonna admitted. And then I realized that his power over her was based on secrecy. As long as what he was doing stayed private, he could control her. The moment it became public, 80,000 witnesses, cameras, video, documentation, his power was gone. I made a bet that exposing it would free her more than it would embarrass her, and it did. She paused. Also, she was being removed from my concert against her will. I wasn't going to let that happen. Nobody gets dragged out of my show unless they're actually causing a problem. Being abused is not causing a problem. Being an abuser is. Today, Sarah works as a domestic violence advocate. She speaks at conferences, trains security personnel, and helps other survivors navigate the process of leaving dangerous relationships. She's helped over 200 women escape abusive partners using the knowledge she gained from her own experience. And at every event where she speaks, she tells the story of the night Madonna stopped a concert for her. People ask me if I was embarrassed, Sarah says. 80,000 people saw the worst moment of my life. It was broadcast globally. Everyone knows my story. But here's what they don't understand. Before that night, I was invisible. He made me invisible. I'd been screaming silently for help for 2 years, and no one heard me. Madonna heard me. She saw me. She made me visible. And that visibility saved my life. The story has been referenced in countless discussions about domestic violence, celebrity activism, and using platforms for good. It's taught in social work programs as an example of effective intervention. It's cited in security training manuals. And it's remembered by 80,000 people who were there that night, and the millions more who saw the video. Because Madonna didn't just stop a concert. She stopped a pattern of abuse that had been ongoing for years. She used her power and her platform to save a life in real time. And she taught millions of people how to recognize what domestic violence actually looks like. Not always dramatic, often subtle, happening in plain sight while everyone assumes everything is fine. The message is simple. If you see something, say something. Don't assume security knows what's happening. Don't assume someone else will help. Be the person who speaks up. Madonna was that person for Sarah. And because of what she did that night, thousands of other people have become that person for someone else. If this story moved you, if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-799-7233. You can also text START to 88788 or visit thehotline.org. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that help is possible. Subscribe for more stories about using power to protect the vulnerable. And remember Sarah's words, "Someone saw me." Sometimes that's all it takes to save a life. Someone who sees what's actually happening and refuses to look away.